I'm going to start at the bottom here of my pin board, so that way I can keep things pinned nicely for you. Okay, so first I'm just going to do my inner circle. And I am going to try to make it a circle, pinning north to south, east to west. And then I do the in-between. You can keep it kind of like the little bit of a diamond shape if you would like to. Now remember I said you can adjust your skull to make it a little more even. Then I'm just going to pin at the top. Try to smooth these out. I like to dry pin because that way I don't overstretch things too much. And it just, to me, it just makes it a little easier and a little better looking. However, when I do my big doily for my parasols, I do that a full wet doily, and I actually dry it onto the frame. Okay, here. As you can see, they're not hard to pin. Just trying to get all the little points. There. Okay. So yeah, that one's pretty easy to pin. And that one's all set. Let's get this one up here. Make sure I'm in the camera here. Gonna get that one right there pinned. Once again, gonna pin north to south, east to west, and then go in between. You can kind of keep them as a diamond shape or an oval if you want. I think mine are kind of oval though, more than round. So then just move those teeth over just a bit to help center that. This one's going to take a lot of pins, so I'm going to take out my handy dandy pins here. Now this one it's going to require a little bit more pins because we're going to be pinning out all of the little areas. So I always start at the top for some reason. You don't have to. I'm just going to open up that right there. Now remember we have 3 little bumps right on here for this one. Right there. I think I work from the top because of my bracelets. Because sometimes my bracelets get snagged in here, and then my pins, I pull my pins out. So if you want to take these and pin them this way and make them flat, you can go right ahead. I'm just going to give them a little point to the sky there. Let's put these in here. I'm going to put some more pins so that way they're easier to grab. I love this pin board. A former tester of mine, she just doesn't test anymore for me. She has other things to do. Love her to pieces. Her name is Doreen, and she told me about this. And I love it. I think I mentioned it in another thing that I do for my pinning. It's just a 1/2 inch. You can go to Lowe's, Home Depot, Menards, any store that sells that kind of stuff, like tools and home supplies, home building supplies. And it's just insulation. rigid foam insulation. And to fit in my car, I cut the 8, I think it's 8 by 4 foot. So I just cut that in half, which I have that in a different room. So that's for when I make my big, huge, like parasols, and I need to make them flat and not make them into a parasol, but as a regular table doily, or I need to block something. I will use that one. But otherwise, I cut the second half of it, the 4 by 4, into, I cut a third of that off, and then, or no, I cut that one in half, sorry, and then I cut that piece in half again. So I have basically 4 different sizes for pin boards out of that one big sheet. And you can just cut it with a razor blade. It's easy peasy. It's not your typical styrofoam mess. You can stick it in the shower and give it a good wash, or bring it outside and give it a wash to wash off any starch that you might be, like any starch residue. So, love these to bits. I know that they have crochet mats, but I don't know, or I've never used them. So I can't say whether they are good or not. I will say I used to have flooring like that for my oldest son's room, because it was a hardwood floor, because the house that I was born and raised in. We lived there for a while before we moved to our new home in Hudsonville, Michigan. And so we used those for flooring. They were so colorful, it was great. Let's put this one down here. See if I'm centered in the camera. Yes. And so that's what it always reminds me of. We had letters and pictures and different animals in there, and it was a big giant puzzle. My nephew, who's all grown up now, we walked into my son's room one time, and oh my goodness, the whole floor was picked up. He pulled every bit of that up, and oh my gosh, it was a chore to put back. Yes, it didn't go back into the order we had it. That's for darn sure. But yeah, that was, yeah. So that's what those remind me of. It's basically the same thing. They sell them for different things now, for exercise and stuff like that. So this one we're just pinning in the top here. Pulling each one of those out just a bit. Making sure they're all centered. So it's pretty easy to pin. That was pretty easy. Gotta get one more for that skull right there. Move his teeth over and center it. Okie dokie. Now, gonna get the last one done. We'll do the last one right up here. Let me get some pins out and ready to go. So I always pin from the center out. That way you can control your shape, and you can manipulate it a little bit better. You can do just plain water. You can do, to stretch it, you can do the dry method like I do, and then spray it with the 1 part to 3 parts starch to water if you want. Or I know some people, they'll do the dry pinning and then they'll spray starch it. Or you can do the wet method and then you can spray starch. It's up to you. Now, I will go over the stiffening of these in another video. This is just the the wet method. Okay, the regular wet, method here. I'm going to move this out just a hair. I think I should still be centered here. Let me pull that down. So north, south, west, east. I think I might have said east-west when I was putting the things in the wrong spot there, but that's okay. You know what I'm talking about. As long as you get there, right? Can't forget to move over. That one was actually pretty good and sturdy, or in the center. So let's move this down. Double check I'm in camera range here. Yeah. So I'm just going to do the points first. Snowflakes usually have 6 little points. There are some that don't. There's some snowflakes that are round, or they're more solid. Otherwise you have lacy ones. So yeah, I'm going to go a little bit up on these. You can do however you would like to go. I'm going to put a pin here, because I'm going to have these ones out to the side. So pin here. You basically shape these how you want them shaped, because remember, no two snowflakes are exactly alike. Well, there has to be mathematically, right? There has to be some. It's just I don't think we would collectively see them ever as the same, because who's going to look at every single snowflake that falls? It'd be very tedious. Well, we know for certain that we would not have skulls in the middle of any snowflakes that's fallen. That's for certain. And if we did, it would definitely be on the news, wouldn't it? If some scientist seen that. Okay. Now I got those all pinned. Gonna move the board, and I'm hoping that everyone's covered in there. I'm going to I'm gonna do with you this doily. Actually, it's the right side. I'm gonna pin this with you, and it's gonna be stiffened. Okay. So since I'm at my work desk, I have my silicone mat. These are just baking silicone sheets. I will also do any resining that I have. If I'm using resin to glue something together or resin it together, I will use this just to save my surface, because the resin and any glue will pull right off of it. Okay? You can get these really nice and cheap basically anywhere. You can also use, let's see if I have one. I also have this ugly thing that I put on my desk sometimes. I have paint right here. But this one also will let you, I guess it doesn't really let you put resin out. I got these ones at my local Dollar Tree or dollar store, okay? But you can use that to save your surface as well. But today I'm just going to use the silicone mat because it looks a lot nicer. Okay, so what we're going to need is our snowflake. You can use anybody's pattern, any doily pattern you want to do. You can even use just regular fabric and create this. So if you go and buy some lace at a fabric store and you want to stiffen it, you can do that the same way as well. Okay, so what we're going to need is something to stiffen. We're going to need a little bowl. We're going to need some water. And you can see I've done this before. I got my big old bottle of Elmer's glue. You can find this anywhere as well. anywhere that sells school supplies, etc. Then what we're going to need is some gloves, because no one wants to be picking glue out of our hands, or we accidentally touch something. Yeah, we don't want to do that. Although, were you one of the people in school that painted the Elmer's glue on your hand and then peeled it off? Yeah, I was one of those too. We're going to need some pins, some scissors, because we're going to be using some wax paper. You can get store brand, or name brand, or you can use the dollar store. It's up to you. It's really up to you. I'm going to toss that aside because I already have my sheet cut. I have just a different type of foam insulation here. This was actually packing material for something I think my son bought. So they must have painted on one side, but I used the other side. So what we're going to do is we're going to prep everything first. And I have my sheet of wax paper cut to the size I need to fit my little thing. I'm only going to do one, so that fits perfect. If you're going to do more, use bigger, but protect your surface with some wax paper. Wax paper, because you will be able to pull this off of there. So you can either tape it down. I'm just going to put some T-pins in the corner and pin it down that way. Just stretch out my wax paper so that way it's nice and smooth. Okay. Now I'm going to set this aside for just a moment. Set my snowflake aside. I'm going to take off my thumb brace. I'm going to put on my gloves. You can use a stir stick to mix your glue in your water, or you can just use your fingers. Now, depending on how thick your glue is, I do recommend using the Elmer's glue and not a store brand glue. You can buy especially during the school shopping season, you can find bottles of super glue. I think $1, $2 for the littler bottles of it. So just pick some up, always have it on hand. So since I'm only doing one, I'm just going to gloop in. I'm going to gloop in some glue. You can do this using straight glue or water it down just a bit. I like to water it down just a tiny bit just to make it so that way it flows a little bit easier. And I'm just gonna add, because you can see it's got a little give. I'm just gonna add just a tiny bit of water just to loosen it up. The water just evaporates, so you don't have to worry about that. This does take probably a couple days to really dry. Just mixing that in there. Ooh, that's making some cool noises. Okay, so I'm just going to take my doily right here. I'm going to try to just keep one hand on the gloopy part, and I'm just going to squish it in there. I'm going to need to get both my hands gluey, because you got to squeeze out your thing here. I got a cat hair. Of course I got a cat hair, because why would I not have a cat hair in this house? Going to try to squeeze out as much as you can. Okay. Wring it out. You want it all into those fibers, but you want it to be wrung out. Okay, because you still want to kind of see those stitches. But you do want it stiff enough. If you find that you don't like the way that it's too thick in there, remember the glue does dry almost clear, so you won't be seeing too much of it. Okay, you will see more of your stitches as it dries. But try to get as much glue out as you can. course, then I just get more. It's just, yeah. That's why I don't stiffen too much stuff. Okay, I'm going to set my gloopity gloop gloop aside. Grab my board here. And I'm going to grab a napkin. Yes, I'm going to take off my glove and I'm going to risk it. See if I can keep my glove nice so I can slide it back on. We'll give it a try. Okay, I'm going to take a paper towel and just go like this just to help take any little extra bit off. Marcos, yes, we like Marcos. They happen to give us napkins, so they don't go to waste. They go into my room, and I use them. Okay. Let's throw that in the trash there. And that's going to help take off a little bit of the extra. I'm going to try to slide my glove back on here.
2 hours later.
Okay, well, I popped my glove, so hopefully I don't get too goopy and sticky. Okay, I'm just going to try to pull apart some of my spots where I know. Open it up like our little chain 5 on this one. Yeah, it's better to do a bunch of these at one time, so that way, yeah. My glove thing probably would have helped out better if I would have had my paper towel right there with me, next to me. I normally would do this in the kitchen, but because of the filming thing, we're doing it right here. Okay, so now that I have it all nice and spread out, I am going to take off this glove because it's a pain in the tuchus.
All that, and she still took off the glove.
Also, I'll be able to grab my pins better. I can still touch my piece with this one. So what we're going to do is we're going to, once again, north, south, west, and east. And we're going to pin between the north and the west, or you can do that way too. Okay. My skull looks pretty centered. I think this is the wrong side, so my skull's kind of leaning that way. But it looks actually pretty good, so I think I'm just going to leave it at that. Now I'm going to start at the bottom this time because I don't want my bracelets get caught on this. So I open up what I call the little wagon wheel there. And I'm going to put a pin in each one of those little chain 5s. You can put your one up or do it like that. I'm going to do it like that. I'm going to put a pin right in the center of my 3 triples there. Going to turn it, open that up, pin it, I have that pinned there, this pinned there, find my nice little center of my singles there. I will probably take this. I know he doesn't watch my regular crochet ones, but he does watch my coffee times. You might have heard me mention him before, Ken. He's also one that I dedicated Ken's Numbskulls to. So he has the original collection of my Tree of Skull patterns. So I'll probably be sending him this one, and it'll be a little surprise. He's a wonderful big supporter of me, my artwork, as well as countless other artists. So He's good to have on my side. I adore him. So he'll be getting this in the mail as a little surprise. Okay, get that straightened out. You see, and I put one right there. You might need one right here too. Okay. Open that wagon wheel up. There. Pinning the chain 5s. Now, like I said, it's going to take maybe a couple days depending on the humidity that's going on around your house or inside your house. You can set this in front of a heater on the floor. Don't lean it, safety first, don't lean it up against it. But if you do have a space heater like I do in my office, I can set this in front of it, as long as there's no cats in here to get cat hair. To move those stitches out. Rearrange it there. Okay, I think everything looks pretty good. Otherwise, you have a wonderful day. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and look for more of my patterns, either on YouTube or on Ravelry and even Etsy. I will say Ravelry does have the freebies on it. So until next time, have a wonderful day.